Hello and welcome to our today's discussion. My name is Hamid Soltani. I would like to talk about, do we choose to live in a cruel and ignorant world? Or is it possible for us to consciously change the situation that we don't like? Time has come for us to urgently reevaluate the basic fabric of our social structure and correct our fragile and declined human civilizations. To appreciate the urgency, just turn on your TV and watch the news. It is truly disgraceful to witness humanity acting so shamefully. In spite of these tragedies, I believe there's also a great opportunity for humanity to ascend united in spirit and action against shameful, cruel and inhumane worldwide practices. As a matter of priority, we should reevaluate, consciously participate and change what we don't like around us. It's called intelligence. We can put an end to inequalities, injustices, insane, unsustainable activities that currently are running rampant around our world. The type of appalling practices that majority of us find deeply disturbing and often feel embarrassed as a human race. I can only speak about my own personal experience that haunts me every time I witness inhumanity is taking place somewhere around the world. Things such as the news on human cruelties that often defy social decency, betray the basic human rights and values. The basic human values that surely, as a civilized people of the 21st century, we should instinctively know by now and fully live them on a daily basis. These basic values such as respect, care for others, love and acceptance, cooperation and harmonious existence. By and large, I believe the true nature of human being is kind, caring and bubbles with genuine empathy for one another. You can always witness this in times of crisis when everybody pulls together hand in hand to help the fellow man in need. The examples are like bushfires or flooding that brings out and demonstrate the human caring nature operating at its peak. I also acknowledge that in some situations, such as a bitter or misguided individual upbringing, deprivation of basic human needs, or when we feel cornered, we have the potential to behave badly and conduct regretful acts outside our general good nature, such as petty crimes of passion, rape, stealing, or physical harm to others. But I don't believe, not for one moment, that the ordinary people of this world are capable of performing systemic terror on mass scale on one another, such as what is currently and mercilessly sweeping the world right now. The current religious and ideological feuds, hatred and wars, even the civilians are not spared. It is almost like a virus that is tearing our world down into small fragments, creating social divisions and result in mass-scale human sufferings. Almost as if everyone's gone totally insane and ready to pounce on the next person for any small differences they can possibly find. It feels somewhat alien and totally unreal for most of us to fathom how a very small number of individuals in this world could become so incredibly powerful, manipulative and barbaric that almost with some form of blanket immunities and clever disguises can systemically and ruthlessly and with great precision conduct terror against the rest of humanity. How is this possible? How can an incredibly small minority who are sadly morally bankrupt and spiritually less gifted than the rest of us easily win over the masses, the ordinary people? Sometimes the greatest human manipulations and barbaric actions are legitimized through effective misuse of media and adoption of clever psychological pretexts and lies. As a clinical practitioner, I can't help but notice the clever and elaborate disguises often used by certain interest groups to guide humanity into predestined directions. Unless you deliberately look for these disguises, you would not see them, or realize how these intentional subliminal messages are controlling our daily lives. Such mind manipulation techniques include subtle suggestions and auto-suggestions in order to convince us how we should interpret what we witness and how we should think. If we observe carefully, we can notice them all around us in various staged propaganda, suggestive manipulations, and passage of misinformation through our official media. I can't help feel truly shocked by how our official systemic structure upholds unspeakable level of double standards and willfully allow deplorable and unfair practices to continue, totally unchallenged in this so-called civilized world. Almost as if genuine people's wishes and opinions for peace and harmony do not count for much at all. It is also clearly noticeable that even though we, the general public, empathize with the human sufferings which we witness and often become emotionally troubled by, however, through constant repetition and daily exposures to these sufferings, we slowly become desensitized to what is actually happening around us, especially if it's suggested to us that the unfolding drama is not directly going to impact us, so at least for now, we can switch off and not become disturbed by them. Due to the good nature of innocent and law-abiding citizens of this world, such subtle mind control techniques are often not noticeable, as people cannot believe such systemic evil could possibly exist. So they continue to live in an innocent world that everything is done with the best of intentions, integrity, and in the name of justice, especially if it is endorsed by higher social order and authorities. I believe people in general are innocent, and it makes no difference whether you are a decent board member, a CEO, or a hard-working clerk, whether you work for the government agencies, NGOs, or private organizations or media. The devious and manipulative strategies are often conjured up at much higher level that it is almost invisible to most ordinary people to notice. All you can witness is the aftermath of such devastating strategies resulting in chaos, cruelties, and human deprivations. Did you know that majority of the Earth's wealth is received by the same nameless top 1 or 2%, and the rest of the population receives leftover specks of crumbs? That is if they're lucky. Because we know for a fact that a great majority of innocent people are left out of the prosperity equations in this world. And with no real prospect of any respite anytime soon, they often unfairly struggle, and many die through social neglects and physical hunger. Their death is of little or no consequence to the rest of the well-to-do world of privileged class. We all understand that, amongst other things, governments are there to establish and uphold equitable and just laws to ensure a fair distribution of wealth amongst their citizens. That is an important job for any responsible elected government. If this is true, then it really makes you wonder that what elaborate system of manipulation must be in place that even the governments have no saying how wealth is distributed. Sometimes governments are also victim to these supreme powers. For example, when governments such as poor American or Australian are in debt by billions, if not trillions of dollars, then who are they in debt to? Where does such vast amount of collected interest goes to? Does this incredible amount of wealth ever see the daylight by the normal people of this world? Obviously not. As we know, millions are dying of hunger every day. When our collective earth wealth is into trillions of dollars. Who actually owned such powerful institutions? And where did the money that was issued to these governments came from in the first place? Our international, governmental and social system are often deliberately manipulated at the cause by certain invisible and highly influential people. Invisible because we never hear from these people, ever. As a result, the system which is meant to serve its precious members, the humanity, becomes totally dysfunctional and keeps on failing to equitably and fairly meet the basic human social needs. Think about it. Why do we have so much unjustified sufferings? And why are there many disadvantaged, poor and hungry people in this world? Why do we still have human slavery, child labourers and child soldiers, helpless communities living in abject poverty and wars that none of us want? Are we that helpless or victim to these orchestrated inhumane practices? The ones that are intended to promote inequalities, exploit and cause sufferings for humanity. As a human race, should we just give up, accept and live with these insane and inhumane conditions as our legitimate and ongoing ways of living? I believe we deserve much better, and we can do much better. The humanity collectively possesses abundance of creativity, intelligence and the necessary critical mass to change the world for better. We can consciously object, say enough is enough, and refuse to live in fear, act like slaves destined to experience more disappointments, a sense of helplessness, feeling socially trapped by these injustices. We can consciously refuse to be hypnotized by our faceless and devious social engineers who love to promote social divisions, sponsor hate amongst humanity, and maintain constant suffering as a normal state of human existence. If it is not who we are that is cruel and ignorant, then how come we live in a cruel and ignorant world which we don't subscribe to and don't approve of? Ask anybody you know, friends, family, colleagues, if they would subscribe to wars, cruelties or injustices. Ask them if they would welcome a war in their immediate neighborhoods, and if they are prepared to expect tanks and soldiers marching up and down the streets and killing people and destroying their properties and livelihoods. It would be highly surprising if anybody that you personally know in your life would subscribe to such inhumanities. Therefore, if it is not the people who you know, then who actually sponsors such insane inhumanities? If the average moms and dads of this world genuinely want peace and harmony for themselves and for their families, then who on earth sponsor wars, terrorize the world in our name? I believe a new era for human empowerment is here, and we as a deserving human race can consciously change what we don't believe is honorably or holistically serving us, and directly influence how we would like to live going forward. Our so-called leaders who consistently keep on failing us are either corrupt or ignorant, which in either case, they don't deserve to be in charge of their current position and rule us like a bunch of gullible subspecies that don't know or deserve any better and not worthy of decent human rights. We as a human race should not tolerate political games, mass media manipulations, and deliberate inactions while innocent people are being unfairly treated and subjected to continuous unnecessary sufferings, and worse, may even die as a human cattle in so-called civilized world. This is not acceptable and should not be tolerated. Most of us ordinary people witness the sufferings. Consequently, we feel this sense of internal anger and feel a sense of shame coming up within us. Especially when all of us know that it is quite possible for us to live in a much more humane and nurturing world. Deep down, we know that we are truly smart and have proved our intelligence over thousands of years of human evolution. We demonstrated that through our direct intentions and desires, we can achieve anything that we want. We sent a man to the moon decades ago. Yet somehow, and very mysteriously, we keep on failing to create a harmonious society in which all of us can holistically prosper through systemic coherence and mutual collaboration with one another. My solution is not uprising against the state or getting to fight with oppressors or manipulators of this world. Definitely not, as this type of attitude is exactly what they thrive on, that is war and destruction. And we, the ordinary people, cannot possibly become and act barbarically like them. I'm simply saying that we need to consciously become more aware that, one, currently we truly reside in an unspoken, almost an invisible social cage that we subscribe to. And in this cage, some of us get fed with crumbs. The illusion of self-determination and concept of imaginary freedom. Two, as long as we are within this cage boundaries and don't question why there is a small group of influential individuals with unimaginable perks and powers outside this cage roaming freely, we may be left alone, given the permission to continue living our lives as slaves, and may even be rewarded with extra crumbs as an incentive for conforming to the prescribed world and following the double standard ways. Three, the cage can immediately disappear if we choose to realize that we, the people, are far greater species, more powerful, more intelligent than those who are unfairly managing us and keeping us captive. They're keeping us captive within their own woven paradigm of social definitions. As some would say, we are similar to a lion that was told that he was a sheep. Therefore, for a long time, the lion lived and acted like a sheep because he was told so. Finally, through conscious realization, he recognized that he was a majestic lion with great spirit, and there was no cage big enough to confine him or his amazing abilities. Then he instantly became totally free and took charge of his own destiny. So for our own sake, please, let's become awakened as quickly as we can. Step out of the cage and vote those who don't serve us caringly, honorably, and equitably out of office. Do it intelligently rather than getting into direct conflict with anyone. Use your so-called democratic powers to shape your world the way you want. So together we can create a world of peace and harmony to collectively enjoy and prosper. Imagine a world where there are no wars and there are no conflicts. No one bothers you for practicing what you like or what you're passionate about. No one will persecute you for your personal beliefs or views. Imagine you have a great and nurturing society that consciously promotes equality and human freedom. Imagine a society which by design allows you to explore arts and sciences as you please. Imagine a social structure that allows you to live a fulfilling life and support you in your systemic endeavors and contributions. Thank you.